All right, guys, looks like we are live. All right. So, welcome to the WMMA Scene Report. I know it's an unusual evening and time. Usually we have these shows on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Lately it's been on Wednesdays. But there has just been so much MMA, WMMA related news going on this week. And it kept happening even on Wednesday that I was like, you know what, I'm going to put this show back a little bit. And we'll do, I'll push the show back a little bit and so we can get as much into one episode as possible. So we'll start off as we always do with fight results. So first up, Friday, one championship, what they call this one, Reign of Valor. It was in Yangon, Myanmar. They had two female fights. First up, 115 pounds, Bozena and Antoniar defeated Audrey Laura Boniface by KO, TKO due to punches at 1 minute and 30 seconds of round 2. So I watched this fight, and I'll tell you what, this fight was an example of how one round can make an entire difference. Audrey Laura Boniface was doing very well in the first round. Started to get a little bit difficult for her between towards as the first round wore on, and then she came out in the second round. I don't know if she was still dazed from some punches from the first round, if she was that exhausted, but she just came out into that second round looking like she was half out of it. Like, I don't know if she was out on her feet, she was that exhausted, but Antoniar was able to take advantage of it and put her away pretty fast against the cage. Next up, also on that card, at 115 pounds, Hae-Jin Lin made a successful promotional debut, defeating Jo Marie Torres by submission due to triangle choke at 4 minutes 12 seconds, round 1 of 3. So this fight was also fairly fast. I forget who got the initial takedown, but Hae-Jin Lin was very fast to put on the triangle choke, and she had it in pretty much most of that round up until Torres tapped out. So it was a nice win for Hae-Jin Lin. Probably one of the better wins on her record so far. Also on Friday was Combate Americas 32, Mexico versus Spain. Had a couple ladies fights. First up was Paulina Vargas defeated Erendira Ordonez due to TKO from punches at 1 minute and 39 seconds of round 2. That was at a 120-pound catchweight fight that Ordonez actually missed. This was a classic example of a boxer versus a brawler. Ordonez came out and she was using lateral movement to avoid the action as much as possible, but every time Vargas was able to cut off the angles for her, Ordonez came forward just swinging everything but the kitchen sink. I mean, she was throwing punches and bunches from nowhere. Vargas was able to keep a pretty nice guard going most of the time. However, Ordonez dropped Vargas twice in the first round. Vargas had swung out and she was overextended a little bit with her punches each time, and Ordonez was able to throw a punch straight down the middle and knock her to her feet. But Vargas did well to recover each time. By the second round, again, Ordonez was just, she was too tired from throwing everything in the first round, and Vargas was able to take over, and eventually Ordonez covered up against the cage and the referee stopped it. Also on the same card, Elitzel Mariscal defeated Vanessa Rico Fernandez at atomweight from TKO due to strikes at 3 minutes 18 seconds, round 1 of 3. I'm trying to remember how exactly this fight went down. But Elitzel Mariscal climbing to 2-0 at atomweight for Combate. She could be Combate's next atomweight star, potentially, with Kira Batar moving up to 115 pounds. That same night, we also had Deep Jewels 23. A lot of fights on there. We're going to run through them real quick. Katori Tamiya defeated Mizuki Oshiro due to majority decision. That was 105 pounds. In the super atomweight division, 108 pounds, Ai Shimizu defeated Sae Kokuho due to TKO due to ground punches at 1 minute and 8 seconds, round 1 of 2. that fight was very fast. Shimizu pretty much knocked her down with one punch and then followed it up. I was surprised. I'm actually surprised at the time of 1:08. It seemed a lot faster than that. Down to 97 pounds, Yasuko Tamada, 51 or 52-year-old grandma, defeated the much younger Madoko Ishibashi due to unanimous decision. Tamada was in control pretty much that whole fight. She actually spent the majority of it on Ishibashi's back, looking for the rear naked choke. Wasn't able to get it though. But Tamada, at 51 years of age, shown that she still got it over these youngsters, or some of them at least. All the way up to 121 pounds, Asami Akaringo Nakai defeated Yuko Oya due to unanimous decision. This is another one. Nakai. This fight was a little bit closer, but Nakai was in control for most of it. Next up, also at 121 pounds, Yukari Nabe defeated Sachiko Fujimori by submission due to sleeper choke at 2 minutes 42 seconds of round 2. I don't really remember this fight too much, unfortunately. Next up, all the way down to atomweight, Suman Bunsorn defeated Emi Sato via submission due to sleeper choke. It says sleeper choke on Tapology. It was a rear naked choke. 33 seconds, round 1 of 2. Emi Sato made the mistake of getting into the clinch with Bunsorn. Bunsorn tossed her from the clinch straight into mount. Sato had to roll over, and Bunsorn wasted no time in sinking in that rear naked choke. Amazingly fast finish. I actually did a review video, so head on over and watch that if you haven't yet. Next up was the first of the 3-round fights. Emi Tomomatsu defeated Hikaru Aono via submission due to rear naked choke at 4 minutes 44 seconds of round 2. Early potential comeback of the year. Tomomatsu was being controlled by Aono in the first round and much of the second round. And then she was able to reverse it very fast and get Aono in trouble. Aono's a lot less experienced than Tomomatsu. It seemed like once she got in trouble, she was unable to get out of it. So congrats to Emi Tomomatsu on an amazing comeback or come from behind win. Next up, we had the first of 2 absolute squash matches. Kanna Watanabe defeated Suman Kang due to TKO from punches from Crucifix, 4 minutes 33 seconds, round 1 of 3. Watanabe came in 5-0, much taller, much stronger than her opponent, who was making her pro debut. She just Suman Khan was just unable to do anything against Watanabe. It was a setup match. Next up, the other squash match. At 150 pounds, King Reina Miura defeated Mao Ueda due to TKO due to punches at 25 seconds, round 1 of 3. This fight was fast, but it was action-packed. Ueda chose to stand and throw leather with King Reina. And surprisingly, King Reina was able to absorb Ueda's punches. And they looked like hard punches too. But King Reina was able to absorb them and throw leather back. And Ueda wasn't able to absorb them as well as her opponent, giving King Reina the win. And then finally, the main event of the evening at 108 pounds, super atomweight division, Kanna Asakura defeated Tomo Maesawa due to unanimous decision. I thought on the feet, Maesawa had a slight advantage. She was able to use a very sideways stance to confuse Asakura, but once Asakura was able to get to the ground, she was in control pretty much from there. And that was spelled, that was the same pretty much all 3 rounds. I'll tell you what though, Maesawa gave a good account of herself against Asakura. She's very crafty on the ground. She was able to escape or reverse positions a couple times in each round. I thought she did very well in spite of the loss. And then finally, on Saturday night, UFC on ESPN Plus 4, at 135 pounds, bantamweight division, Yana Kunitskaya defeated Marion Renaud due to unanimous decision. This was an action-packed fight. Was it the most skillful fight? No, but it was fun. It was non-stop striking. Well, Yana took it to the ground in the first round. It didn't stay there, thankfully. I'll tell you what, by the end of this fight, both fighters were bloody. Renaud was bleeding out of her nose a little bit, and Yana Kunitskaya's nose was pointed this way and then this way. It was pretty nasty to watch. But she did enough throughout the first 2 rounds to capture the unanimous decision, because that third round, was definitely Renaud's best. So that's it for the fight results. We're going to move into the news, which is going to be the bulk of this one. So first off, we're going to start with some UFC. So UFC has a couple new signings. They signed Brazilian Norma Dumont, 4-0, and Russian Liana Jojua, 7-2, to the bantamweight division. A couple of needed signings in the somewhat scant lately bantamweight division. I haven't seen any of Dumont's fights yet. I have seen 1 or 2 of Liana Jojua's fights, and she seems pretty promising. So she's also fought in some of the bigger Russian promotions like Fight Nights Global. She hasn't fought in almost a year though, so hopefully she signs a fight agreement soon. Also, new signing for the UFC. They have signed Invicta FC featherweight champ Felicia the Phenom Spencer, who is undefeated at 6-0. Happy for Felicia Spencer. She deserves it. I'm not happy that the UFC is trying to keep the farce of their featherweight division alive, though. How do you not see it as a waste of time by now? I don't know. Meanwhile, no atomweight division yet, but that's for another video. So a couple of fights have been announced from the UFC. First up, at bantamweight, Sijara Eubanks, 4-2 versus Espn Ladd at 7-0, booked for UFC on ESPN Plus. That happens 9th May in Rochester, New York. So this is a rematch that dates back to their days of both of these fighters fighting in Invicta. We all know what's happened to them both since then. The first fight, Espn Ladd won by unanimous decision. That's the only fight on Espn Ladd's record that went to the judges. So it should be interesting to see how they do. Eubanks was fighting at 125 since then. Started off on the Ultimate Fighter, and then she missed weight pretty bad her last fight, so now she's back up to bantamweight. Ladd, of course, actually started off at flyweight, and then she's been fighting at bantamweight for a while ago. Also, 3 fights announced for UFC 238. I didn't get a date for that one, unfortunately. So first up, at a flyweight division, Katlyn Chookagian, 11-2, taking on Joanne Calderwood, 13-3. Should be a very fun striking match. Hopefully, Chookagian tends to be like a strike and like a hit and run style fighter, whereas Calderwood usually comes forward. Should be interesting clash of styles there. Also, at strawweight, big contender fight here at strawweight. Tatiana Suarez, 7-0, taking on Nina Ansaroff, 10-5. Both of these fighters are, I believe, tied in the rankings at either number 3 or number 4 or 3-4. You know how that goes. So this is potentially deciding the next title challenger, which should be the winner of Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas. I think that takes place at UFC 237. Also announced on that fight is a flyweight title fight. Jessica Eye, 14-6, will be challenging Valentina Shevchenko, 16-3, for the UFC flyweight title. If you're a gambling man, bet on this going to decision. Should be easy money. I don't see this fight ending before then. Other than that, it should be an interesting matchup. Jessica Eye has been winning since she moved down to flyweight. Not the greatest of wins, but, styles make fights. So we'll see what happens in this one. Moving on to some Bellator action. Malin Hermansen, 2-0 versus Victoria Leonardo, set for Bellator 218. That's next weekend, 22nd March. And that's in Thackerville, Oklahoma, and that's going to be in the flyweight division. I announced last week that Leonardo had a fight with Bellator, but didn't have the opponent announced yet. So, there we go. She's got an opponent named. You might remember Victoria Leonardo won by, I think it was first or second round submission at the last Invicta FC event. Also announced by Bellator, Marina Maknakina, 4-1 versus Janae Harding, 4-3, signed for Bellator 219. And that takes place 29th of March in Temecula, California. Interesting note, Marina Maknakina, her lone loss was suffered. She's at the hands of Liana Jojua, who just got signed by the UFC. So, interesting thing there that, the girl who lost got signed to Bellator, and then the girl who won got signed to the UFC. It's like Bellator taking second up again. Also for Bellator, back to Bellator 218 in Thackerville, Oklahoma. Kai Bennett, 1-1 versus Deborah Kuzman, 1-0. And that's supposed to be at a catchweight. Their website didn't list what the exact catchweight is. I'm assuming it's somewhere around 120 pounds, just based on the fact that it both listed them as flyweights. Outside the UFC, I announced last week that former UFC fighter Chan Mi John was making a return at the end of this month, 30th of March, in Seoul at WGFC #2. Her opponent was announced. It's going to be Shizuka Sugiyama from Japan. John is 5-2, and Sugiyama is 16-6-1. Going to be a very stiff test at flyweight for Chan Mi John, who hasn't fought in a while. Sugiyama is a veteran of, Ryzen twice, Deep Jules before it was bought out by Deep. So Sugiyama's been around a while, and she's very experienced. She tends to come up short, though, in big fights sometimes. So, meanwhile, for John, this is her first fight back in, I think, almost a year and a half. She had an ankle injury for a while, and then she got cut by the UFC. Also, outside the big two, B Win is set to make her debut for One Championship. That was pretty much her dream promotion to get signed to, and she has now. B Win, 4-3, is going to take on Dwi Annie Retno Wulan, who is 1-0, and that's going to take place at One Championship Roots of Honor on 12th April in Manila in the Philippines. So good luck to B Win in her One Championship debut. Also announced, Combate Americas is going to be holding an event entitled Reinas de Combate. I think that means Women of Combat. Don't quote me on that. I don't speak Spanish. That's going to be April 26th at the Gallon Center in Los Angeles, California. And it's going to feature the following: a bunch of ladies fights. Not all ladies, but a bunch of them. We'll start off with the undercard. Strawweight, Yasmin Waragui, 1-0 versus Daniela Espinoza, who will be making her debut. Another strawweight fight. Charissa Sagala, 4-0 versus Francis Hernandez, 2-2. At atomweight, Polina Granados is going to be having her first fight in a while against an opponent to be announced. And then at flyweight, Zorla Frausto making a fairly fast turnaround. She just fought last month for Combate. and she is also fighting a to-be-announced opponent. And then for the co-main event, it's going to be at strawweight. Kira Batara, 7-4, is going to be taking on Angela Magana, who is 11-10. Kira Batara is basically like the favored female fighter at Combate. They tried to make her the atomweight champion a few times, but she was unable to make weight like 2 or 3 fights in a row at atomweight. Now she's moving up to strawweight. And then Angela Magana, who hasn't heard of Angela Magana at this point? She was like the villain on The Ultimate Fighter 20, and then she's just known for not being good in years. She hasn't been good in years, and then she's known for just constantly stirring up trouble. I think the last thing anybody remembers of her was she got punched out by Chris Cyborg. And then in the strawweight main event, Super Melly makes her return. Melissa Martinez, 5-0, versus Carolyn Gallardo at 3-2. Super Melly, always exciting to watch. Some more big news out of Invicta FC. Shannon Knapp did an interview with TJ DeSantis on Beatdown Radio, which now is on Patreon. A couple of notes that she mentioned. The next weight class that will be part of the Phoenix Rising One Night Tournament Series is going to be, looks like flyweight, 125 pounds. Reason she gave was because of the depth of the flyweight division. The cards featuring the tournament are going to be in addition to the regular Invicta FC events, although they are skipping one. Usually they do one every other month. They did one last month in February, but there isn't one in April. So the next event is after the Phoenix Rising event in May. The next event is going to be June 7th, and it's going to be headlined by a title fight. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the entire interview yet, but thank you to Riz on Shordog for the cliff notes there. And then, let's see, finally in the news, PFL, the Professional Fighters League. You know, they had been talking about wanting to do a lightweight women's tournament this year for their season, featuring Kayla Harrison. So they announced the lineup that they found. So besides Kayla Harrison, the biggest name is going to be now former Invicta FC and Strikeforce champion Sarah Kaufman. Bantamweight moving all the way up to lightweight, going to be going for those big bucks. Also announced in that tournament, besides Kaufman and Harrison, let's see, Jenna Fabian, 1-0. Bobby Joe Dalziel, 4-0. Svetlana Keltova from Russia, who is 2-0. Roberta Samad, who is 4-1. UFC and Ultimate Fighter veteran Larissa Pacheco, 11-2. So that's another fighter who's moving up. Well, she's been fighting at featherweight recently, but originally fought at bantamweight. Now she's moving all the way up to lightweight again. And then finally, American Morgan Frere at 4-1. So I'll be honest, this is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. I mean, if there's one weight class in MMA that is worse than women's featherweight, it's women's lightweight. But this is actually a decent list. Sarah Kaufman is by far the most experienced fighter on there. I forget how many fights she has exactly, but I mean, she's like I mentioned, you know, former Strikeforce champ, former Invicta champ, UFC veteran. Her and Kayla, if you're a gambling man, bet on her versus Kayla Harrison in the finals. As far as who takes that final, that's anybody's guess. But so it's only 8 women, and they're going to compete in a regular season, playoffs, and a year-end championship, with the winner getting a $1 million check. So good luck to all of those ladies in the PFL lightweight tournament. So this actually went about shorter than I thought it would. I might be holding another stream Sunday, going more in depth with some of these fight announcements and breaking them down a little bit more. Guys, I do want to remind everyone that we are currently at about 179 subscribers, and you might see the little ticker down there for counting off the next subscriber goal, which is 200 subscribers. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please do so, and go into your settings on YouTube and make your subscriptions public. That way I know who is subscribed, because when we reach that 200 subscriber goal, I'm going to be doing the same thing I did at 100. I'm going to be having a giveaway. I'm going to take all the names, put them into a random name generator, and the winner is going to win this very nice Invicta FC 33 mini poster that I will be sending to you via first class mail. So if you're subscribed, go check your settings. Make sure that your subscriptions are public. Otherwise, I won't know. I won't see your name to enter you in for that drawing. So please make sure you do that. Oh, before we go, tomorrow night, or excuse me, tomorrow afternoon, I believe, UFC is going to be in England. Lone female fight on the card. Flyweight fight, Molly McCann taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. You know, I don't want to bash these fighters, but they are probably the two lowest level fighters in the flyweight division right now. It should be a sloppy slop fest, but hopefully it'll be a fun slop fest. McCann is a striker with little to no ground game. Cachoeira is also a bit of a power puncher. So hopefully we'll have a fun, sloppy strike fest. So guys, that's really all I have for you tonight. Yep. Was that everything? Yeah. Yeah, that's everything. Guys, have a good night. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Guys, we'll see you next week.